What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Alex. Welcome to Alex Sports Talk and Bets, one of the best sports channels on YouTube. And I want to talk about this Kevin Durant trade really quick because most of what I've been hearing about it has been negative. And I don't understand why. I actually think that this was a good move for the Houston Rockets. I'm going to explain why. You have a time, and I know people are like, oh, well, they gave up picks and all that stuff. But let me explain something to you guys. You have a time where your team's in the rebuild. And when you're in a rebuild, you prioritize getting as many young players as possible, getting as many draft picks as possible so that you can select more young players, just playing the numbers game and ratio, saying the more young players I get on this team, eventually one or two of them are going to become a superstar and we're going to be cooking. The Rockets are past that point. The Rockets have a good team. They have a perennial playoff team. They've already turned the corner. All right. Now, if you look in the West right now, the Nuggets are on their way down. The Mavericks traded Luka over to the Lakers, and Luka's stuck with geriatric LeBron, so they're not really scary right now. The Timberwolves are only scary when they're playing another team full of geriatric players. Like if you put Anthony Edwards in front of Kevin Durant, or you put Anthony Edwards in front of LeBron James, or something like that, even Nikola Jokic, then, he turns into prime Michael Jordan. But when you put him up against anyone his own age who's in their prime, whose knees don't need some oil or anything like that, then all of a sudden he runs away from his team and he's a no-show, just like he is in a lot of his kids' life. So there's an open window there in the Western Conference. Golden State is aging out for Houston to really make a run here. OKC being their only real competition. We'll see what happens with Memphis. I'm not really high on them getting any better anytime soon. So it's an open runway. The days of the West being dominant are pretty much over for the most part, right? You got OKC, and then everyone else over there is beatable, right? So if you're Houston, you see an opportunity. You got the coach of Ime Udoka, you strike. And if you really look at that series they had with the Warriors last year, the reason they lost that series is like 90% Jalen Green's fault. He was too inconsistent. He wasn't there when they needed him. He was a no-show way too many times. That's the only reason they lose that series. And if they win that series, I like to think because they're younger, they don't get hurt against the Timberwolves, and I don't think the Timberwolves would have beat the Rockets. I don't think they would have beat the Warriors if Steph Curry didn't get hurt, honestly. But you never know because, like I said, Ian Edwards turns into Michael Jordan when he's going up against a player who's on his way out of the league. Either way, Jalen Green's performance, man, you guys got to realize Jalen Green's going into year 4. Well, he's going into year 5 now. This was his year 4. So Jalen Green's at that point in his career where I don't really see him getting much better than he is. He's already in his prime. Can he get better? Yes, right? Do not get me wrong, but I don't really see it. Generally, a player spends 4 years in the league, you pretty much know what you got. There's not like a giant leap coming. There are exceptions, but generally there's not a giant leap coming. So you know what you got in Jalen Green. And even in the regular seasons, he's inconsistent if we're being honest. So you get rid of Jalen Green. You bring in Kevin Durant. Now everybody wants to say Kevin Durant's old and all this stuff. Look, he's 36. But you guys got to realize Kevin Durant's coming off a season where he averaged over 24 points. He was like 40% from 3. And close to 50% from the field, like 90% from the free throw line. But the key here is to the 24 points. We don't have to worry about Kevin Durant disappearing in the playoffs. That's not going to happen, right? So if Kevin Durant's giving you 20 points a night, you can translate that 20 points per night to the playoffs. If the Rockets had Kevin Durant last year, or this season, I really should say this season, not necessarily last season because the next season hasn't started yet. If the Rockets had Kevin Durant, they beat the Warriors. If the Rockets had Kevin Durant, they beat the Timberwolves. Now, do they beat the Thunder? Probably not, right? But, anything can happen. Anything can happen, right? But I'd probably still give the Thunder the edge. But if you can step up from losing in the first round to being the second best team in the West, you take the opportunity. Now, some people are going to say, oh, they gave up too much. And that's going to be your next argument. They gave up too much. I mean, if we really look at it for what it is, they gave up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, their 2025 number 10 pick, and 5 second-round picks. 5 second-round picks. Let me say that one more time. 5 second-round picks, not first-round picks. So, in my opinion, they really didn't give up that much. In this entire trade package, the thing that I think is going to hurt them the most is Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks is one of those players you love when he's on your team. You hate when he's not on your team. He's a glue guy. He does the dirty work. 3 and D. He gets in opponent's heads. You need a guy like that on your team. You need a rough rider. He's an enforcer. He keeps your other players who might be more talented but a little bit more soft. He has their back. So I think honestly, out of everything they gave up, Dillon Brooks hurts them the most. Because I don't think even right now that Jalen Green is better than Kevin Durant. And I don't think that he's going to become better than Kevin Durant. I think what Kevin Durant is right now is still slightly better than Jalen Green. And I think Jalen Green isn't really going to get much better than he is right now. The 2025 number 10 pick doesn't really matter to you. You already have a good team. No one you would have drafted at number 10, even though I do like this draft class. But at the end of the day, nobody you would have drafted at number 10 was going to help you get out of the first round of the playoffs this year, in my opinion. Especially not in the degree that Kevin Durant can. All right, Kevin Durant hasn't been hurt in a while, man. He's played most of the games over the last 2 years. So I just think it was a good move. Again, you gave up 5 second-round picks. It's not a big deal. And that's just the going price today. Guys, you got to also realize that this isn't the NFL. This is the NBA. So the NBA draft picks just aren't as valuable. And if you're in a rebuild, it's not that hard to get them back. We just seen that with the Phoenix Suns. They haven't gotten all their picks back, but they immediately decided, let's blow this thing up and rebuild it. And they're not having a hard time getting picks back, guys. People give up picks all the time when they see that they're in a win-now window. You also have to remember that the Houston still has the Suns' 2027 draft pick and a 2029 first-round draft pick. So they still have 2 first-round draft picks. So next year will be 2026. So if next year doesn't work out, right, they can draft. They'll have the Suns' pick, and the Suns look like they're in a full rebuild. So they could pop right back in the draft in 2027 the following year and just say, hey, we took 2 shots at it in 2026 and 2027, and it didn't work out, so we're going to, draft the player and see if we can get this thing right. But as of right now, you add in Kevin Durant, you still have Alperen Sengun, you still have Fred VanVleet, you still have, is it a Mir or a Sher that they have? I think it's a Mir. You still got Thompson. You still have a very, very good, very, very talented team. But now you have a consistent score. Now, you got to try to get out there in free agency, see if you can get you an enforcer like Dillon Brooks-like type player. But if the Houston Rockets can get another Dillon Brooks-like type player in free agency, I definitely think that they upgraded. I 100% think that they upgraded. I think everything that's making you guys say this was a bad trade is goofy. They didn't need that draft pick this year. Jalen Green is not better than Kevin Durant right now. He's not. And Dillon Brooks, like I said, Dillon Brooks is the part of that trade where I'm like, if you could have kept him, you should have. But also, if you had to give him up to get Kevin Durant, you give him up to get Kevin Durant. He's not like he's an irreplaceable guy. You can get plenty of 3 and D enforcers. There should be someone out there in free agency. So overall, I think this is a good trade. I do think it makes the Rockets a better team. I think this is a better fit for Kevin Durant than some of the other teams he was talking about going to, like the Knicks. He didn't fit with the Knicks at all. He's not what the Knicks needed at all. He wouldn't have made the Knicks any better. But I do think that he makes the Houston Rockets better. Maybe you guys feel different after listening to everything I said in this video, so let me know in the comments. But I do think that Kevin Durant makes the Houston Rockets better. And although I would have kept Dillon Brooks, I will say this trade is a win-win for both teams. I don't think anyone won or lost the trade. The Phoenix Suns can go ahead and start their rebuild. I don't know what in the world possessed them to sign Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant anyway and put that geriatric-ass squad together, but they did. So they can go ahead and start their rebuild, and the Rockets got themselves a consistent scorer who could hopefully take them to the next level in the playoffs, and I think that he will. So I think it was a win-win for both teams. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. I am Alex, and I am out. Peace.